All right, Ilgvars, I think as soon as you're ready, we could start.
Yes, we could do it now. Okay then. Yeah, good. Good morning all LUCIA members, friends and stakeholders and guests, of course, and welcome to the second LUCIA webinar organized by the lead partner from the city of Hamburg in cooperation with other project partners and external consultants. And before I start, special thanks to Heike and to Tommy and Nicholas. I know you are the real mastermind behind it, so let's do it together. Some of you know me, some don't, so I will start by introducing myself and the organization I represent. My name is Ilgvars Francis. I work for Riga Planning Region, a LUCIA partner in Latvia, and also a second tier or the regional municipality, which implies that we cooperate with all 30 local municipalities located in our region and try to disseminate all kinds of good practices to the smaller municipalities. In LUCIA, our organization is one of the smaller partners because we do not implement an investment project as part of LUCIA. We're basically here to learn to disseminate LUCIA experiences and outputs both among Latvian municipalities, as I mentioned before, and also we are responsible for the dissemination of LUCIA results on the project level, and my colleague Sabina does it. Another reason we decided to join the project and involve in the implementation of all project activities is that we want to assist the other Latvian partner, the municipality of Jūrmala, who implement a pilot project and who we cooperate with, and you'll be able to listen to the presentation by Ieva later on. And I've got about five minutes to introduce today's webinar, so and I'll try to stick to this schedule, but still I would like to take the opportunity and tell you that my colleagues at Riga Planning Region and I have a very special interest in the series of these webinars that we have started together, because we intend to produce a local output aimed at basically local municipalities and also local associations, business associations, which could be best described as a handbook on the implementation of LUCIA in Latvia, and on a handbook on the implementation of smart lighting project as such. And this could also be called a synthesis report. And so if you like this idea, you could produce your local outputs similar to this in your country as well. So by doing so, we want to demonstrate the good practices of LUCIA with a particular emphasis on the pilot project in Jūrmala, in order to encourage all other Latvian municipalities to either initiate their own smart lighting projects or help them establish new partnerships that could allow them develop similar projects both in Latvia and in elsewhere in Europe. So if you like this idea, you could just do the same thing in your country. The title of today's webinar is Urban Design, Creating Livable Urban Space and Fostering Sustainable Tourism. And so we'll focus on the tools and tricks that can help to turn mundane things into magic. And I know that we've got two good presentations that would help to achieve this little goal. And because we all know that properly planned lighting solutions give us powerful, but sometimes still underestimated tools that can be used in the planning process. And it could be easily proved by the existing evidence. And apart from the positive visual, aesthetic, or safety impacts, urban lighting also helps to create livable and attractive urban spaces. And even more than that, being an urban economist, I know that there's a direct and indirect positive impact on the cost of urban land and the value of properties in urban areas, and which could contribute to economic growth in certain urban areas as well. So this webinar will try to explore how cities and municipalities can unlock actually this huge potential. We have two presentations today. I have already mentioned it before, that you'll have an opportunity to take a closer look at what's going on in Jūrmala, which is one of the most popular, well, probably the most popular resort town in Latvia, and one of the most popular tourist destinations as well. And only the capital of Riga could compare well in this respect with Jūrmala. And Ieva has a presentation on that. But first we start with a keynote presentation, lighting to create livable and attractive environments by Ulrike Brandi. She is the founder and managing director of a company named Ulrike Brandi Licht, and the chair of Brandi Institute for Light and Design. Ulrike is a well-known architect, and actually she's a creator and also a practitioner, and she definitely knows how to make use of natural and artificial light in urban planning and design. So I really recommend to you visit her webpage for information. There's lots of absolutely stunning examples there, starting from office houses, museums, and to airports and many, many more. And before I finish my introduction, I want to encourage you to use the chat room and submit your questions to both Ulrike and then to Ieva. And either Nicholas or I will read your questions and help to forward them to the presenters, or allow you to speak out loud. Having said all that, I think I must say that I welcome you, Ulrike, and please, the stage is yours.
Hello. Yeah. Do you see and do you hear me? Hello. What is that?
Yes, we can see you and hear you, Ulrike.
That's perfect. Great. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, ja, und machst du noch die voll. Yeah, and then okay. So I hope you all can see my presentation. We shared the screen. I only would like to know if all that worked. Yeah?
We cannot yet see your screen.
I see. So we try it again. And I also would love to see the beside picture. Ja. Und ich wäre glücklich, wenn ich auch mich sehe nebenbei. Sorry.
Now your screen appears.
Great. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm really happy to be here together with you all around the Baltic Sea, and it would be so much fun to enjoy wind, clouds, sun, maybe at the beach together with you. But just now I'm saying hello from Hamburg, and I would like to tell you a little bit about our thoughts and our ways how to create something livable and maybe as well attractive in urban environments. Just as a little introduction, I would like to tell you what lighting designers do. I am a lighting designer since more than 30 years. And one of the main things we are doing is interior lighting with artificial light, as you see here for the Royal Academy of Music in London. But for me, it always was very important to design with daylight, or you could also say with natural light. This is a heliostat. It's a reflector that directs light into spaces following the sun and directs the sunlight. But this is not a typical daylight lighting design service. Normally, we calculate openings of windows and the direction to the sun and to the different directions of the earth. So we advise and work together with architects in these early states. Something, and that is what we are going to focus on today, is the master planning for cities. And this is one of our biggest projects because it was the entire master plan for the city of Rotterdam. And we did others as well for the Hafen city in Hamburg. Here, I will tell you a little bit more about this and about the principles we are using for it. And as I started in a time when lighting design was not that popular and there were not that many lighting designers, so there also were no books to teach it. So I always was interested to talk about it and to show practical examples, because I think it's nice to see results of lighting design, but the more important for those who practice in it is to see how is the process to come to a design. Because you as a designer, you don't only have to be the creative person, you have to go through a lot of different steps in communication with others, and this makes it interesting as well. Okay, so that was the little introduction about what lighting designers do. There's much more, but I think this is the main part. And as I said, I always was interested in daylight, in natural light, and I'm really convinced that natural light teaches us the way how to use artificial light as well. I don't mean imitate, I mean to be aware and observe the phenomena of natural light to be a good lighting designer and to use the tools that we have in light. So these little sketches you see on the screen only tell you in a very brief way the most important parts we have. There's darkness, and everybody knows now, I hope, that darkness is one of the essential parts in our lives, and not only ours, it's also affecting animals as well as plants. So we need on our earth, we need darkness. It's very important. And if we have enough darkness, then sure, we can look at the light sources we have. There's the direct light of the sun. And as you see, this little person here throws a very exact, precise shadow in direct sunlight. And that could be, this is not really happening on the Earth. This could be a situation on the moon, for example, where we don't have an atmosphere. That would mean you have only the light source and a dark sky. But we have our atmosphere, and the sun lit this as well. So the next image there you see on the right-hand side above, it's direct and diffuse light. And the shadow goes a bit softer. You also see something where the shadow is because the atmosphere creates this diffuse light that surrounds you from everywhere, together with the sun. The next, then, on the left-hand side in the lower row, this is the situation. People say Hamburg is, this is the main weather situation in Hamburg, the clouds and only diffuse light. Just now, during the last years, we really can say we have a lot of sunshine here in Hamburg. You should visit us to see it as well. Okay, but the only diffuse light is something without any shadow, which is sometimes for the eyes, something relaxing, but for a longer time we need the shadows to get enough informations. On the next image, you see two effects that we have. It's the height of the light point, the light source, the sun at sunset, which makes long shadows, as you see it here, and again creates another atmosphere. And this comes together with the very warmish light of sunset, or as well the rise of the sun in the morning sometimes. And then, last but not least, we also need romantic situations as the stars and the moon in the darkness, the very sparkling light of stars. So as you see here, we have a big range. We observe a natural situation, and I would like to show you now how this affects our projects. This image, I show it to you, it's not a project of mine, it's an observation I did. And it shows again the variety of all this very soft light. We have together the combination of the coldish daylight as reflection of the sky in this shop window. And we have as well the warmish light coming from inside, and as well from this beautiful neon writing. And you see as well this glass reflects in a very direct and precise way the trees that are in front of that shop. And at certain points where the condensing water clears this glass, you can look through it into the room, and on other parts it's matte, and you have a very matte kind of transition of light. And these are things I could talk about it forever, because it really opens my heart, and I think for everybody it's important to observe that and have fun with it. In that case, I spoke about color temperature of natural light and of artificial light as well, as we have these light sources. And the next very important thing to make environments livable and comfortable is the height of the light point, which is here an interior situation to show you, but this is something we use in all our master plan. This is Friedrich II, who gives a concert in the Chateau Castle Sanssouci in Potsdam, close to Berlin. And here you see all the three light points, a very high chandelier, which is the light for official occasions, very generous and showing as well, representing how rich he is as well, how important he is. Then you have lower light points, which are these candles you see as wall lights in the background, on the back wall. They are still a bit higher than the other light sources, very low. These candles you have in candle holders, you carry through the building. On the next image, you see these different heights, and starting with the lowest light point, the 1.40 meters around, this is the private light. So that means when he's alone in the castle, he only uses this one. When he has kind of semi-public event there, invites people, the second height is lit. And then if it's a very big public event, we have the light of the chandelier. So I think this governs us, and you saw this was in relation to the different natural light situations we can observe. So coming to master plans, this is the western part of the Hafen City here in Hamburg, one of the biggest building projects or urban projects all over Europe. And it started around 15 years ago, and it's still going on in the eastern part of it. You see here that we, in a way, defined categories of very big streets where we have the highlight point, and then it goes lower to the streets only in the little neighborhoods where we have lower light points. It's a bit more private, and then it goes down to the lowest light points. We use them close to the beach or to the edge of the water, where we would like people to be able to watch the dark water and also to enjoy darkness. as you might see, or I will explain it later, this is an important part of Hamburg, and I think of other cities, to have this darkness on the water. And this translates itself then to these different these categories, to these different kinds of lighting tools, I would say, you can use in different areas. And sure, for in these areas where we have squares or plazas in the area, there is a bit more freedom than to use different tools than in other areas, in the streets, for example. Here are sections, we also explain this. And here is a situation of the very early realization where I would like to give your attention on also the very low light points. It's quite directed, and we have the light very low. On this image, I would like to put your attention, or on this map, attention to the point, this is the eastern part of the Hafen city, that we show the street lighting and we show the pedestrian lighting, because quite often, and you will see it in a later project, city administrations or clients think the lighting designer is there for the so-called decorative light. I don't like this word, so I put it in brackets. It's what we do is not decorative, but it's understood quite often in that way when we put light onto facades, which is an important part. But I think the atmosphere in cities is created as well by the functional light, by the street light, and or the pedestrian light, as well by advertisements that are lit. Every light source is part of the atmosphere. And if I put a street light that is well designed, that has the right color temperature, this also is a nice sign, and maybe as well the identification of a city. So you will see it on the next page then, how different it was started again much earlier here in the city of Hamburg, where the city developed this lighting concept for the interior city, so only for the center of the city. And when you look at this map, you see this focuses much more on facade lighting. Sure, there are different categories, but it is another understanding of public lighting by looking more at where are facades that are lit, where are maybe squares with a nice and beautiful light. And I would like to emphasize this holistic way to look at it, and not to divide the kind of sort of creative lighting and the kind of functional lighting. I think they belong together. As well, street lighting can disturb everything you try to do on a facade, because you have blinding lights or light poles in front of you. But I'm happy that the city of Hamburg did that. And here is something you also see going back. You see this very lit square in a way in the middle of this image. It's in front of the town hall, and the town hall has a very big role in this concept because it was said the town hall is the most important in the city. This will restrict all the other buildings that are going to be lit, because as a democratic city and part of this country, the town hall should be the brightest. And in the moment when we did the lighting already very low for this facade, everybody else had to go lower than this. And in this terms, Hamburg is quite progressive to be aware of light pollution and of restricting amounts of light in the city. even if we have a lot of things to show. But we all know that our eyes adapt to a certain brightness, and it's more to avoid strong contrasts than to bring the light level higher and higher. So here you have again, this is at the Jungfernstieg, but you see in a very nice way which sources we quite often use more or less, but this is really something I'm convinced about, how we can use light in a way that it's comfortable and livable. And I also thought the title of this is attractive. Attractive can be understood in a way that it should be something wow effect. This is not our meaning of attractive. Attractive really means that people feel comfortable and in a way very natural. So the different ways of lighting we use here is on one side the facade lighting that could be from a pole on this mast. It could be a combination. This is what we did in the for the town hall, the combination of a soft layer of light in front of the facade and then also some light at the facade itself. So you don't get these strong shadows, you have two layers. This is something we use quite often also to have less light because both layers are very soft kind of light. And then you see for the street a higher light point, also bigger distances, more this general light, and then it goes lower and lower. Go into the left, you come to the waterfront of the Lake Alster. Under the trees, a lower light point again for the pedestrians, combined with again something that is again lower, and then the lowest one is in the stairs on the access to the pier, because there we don't want to disturb the eyes to see the very beautiful area around the lake. And you already saw that we really praise darkness, and as I was a teenager, I was very interested in astronomy, and now some decades later I really see that it's very difficult to find places where we can see the sky in this way, and I really would like to protect this by doing my profession in a good way. This image as well shows how nature creates kind of coziness or kind of shelter by, in a way, vertical elements. And when they are lit, you're aware and you feel sheltered. So I would like to show you this project that we are is just in building. They are building it just now, and you see it from above. It's the design of Daniel Libeskind for the Holocaust Monument of Names, where he creates kind of a sculpture. You can enter and you are in these spaces, and then you can read all the names of the murdered Jewish people in the Netherlands. We tried to put a very soft light in here, did a lot of tests, but what I wanted to show here is how much vertical areas are sheltering you and also creating a space. So what I want to say is that, sure, it is important around a square to also show facades, or in a park to show kind of a perimeter, to have a feeling of the space around yourself. That's psychological, sometimes much more important than only to lit the way where, or the path where you are walking along. And as these bricks where we have the engravings of names, again, there is another situation I would like to show and to focus on. It is this beauty of surfaces that have a kind of relief or a microstructure and give shadows in different directions if you have a more general light source from further away, as well as here. This is an image of the Royal Academy of Music again. As here you find in these shelves these crystals, getting light from inside of this glass and then spreading it onto the wood, which creates the atmosphere and all the nuances of brightness. And again, in the Elbphilharmonie here in Hamburg, the concert hall, again, we played with the shadows of a microstructure that was important here for the acoustics of the big hall, and which changes so much in relation to the direction of the light. And these glass balls, then, when you look at it, it's again what I learned from natural light. The glass ball has this brilliance of a direct light. It's the transparency of the glass that also gives you from different directions a different image of this sphere. And then in a landscape, you could say this is a micro landscape. You have very sophisticated and differentiated shadows telling you about material and also directions of the light and the sun. So now I have to briefly so the Elbphilharmonie again, and I come back to these important or leading points, leading myself. Give the space to see the landscape around. This is the plaza of the Elbphilharmonie. You have a beautiful view, and you see this photo is looking westwards, southwest, and you see the sunset. And the most beautiful thing here is really to have the open view. So all the light fixtures that are especially in this perimeter or kind of balcony going around, the light is very, very low, only 20 centimeters high. And in this, I would say from inside to outside of these wind glass curtains, there we still have the lighting from the ceiling. And one of our things where we think it looks like landscape is the idea looking at the floor here to create these kind of light islands. I'm really not the friend of an even light everywhere. Sure, we have to make sure that there is a certain evenness in certain points, but it's so much more lively and close to nature when we have parts where we have more light and then others where we are more in the shadow. Everything looks more lively. For example, when people walk under this light, they go into bright parts and then into darker parts. This is beautiful, and you can't stop to observe that and enjoy it. And sure, here we have more effects on this reflections on the glass. And another point I would like to give you focus on: if we only would have the reflections from the floor back to the ceiling, the ceiling would look very pinkish. So you see kind of corona around the light fixtures. They throw again a bit of light back to the ceiling, and that was intended and very important to us. So you see, from these general observings, we also come to a lot of little details. And if we work with them, in love with them and enjoying them, I think then we create really livable and comfortable spaces where we feel good. So this view from outside, you see the other side of the plaza again, and this little balcony going all around. And another point I would like to focus on as well, because we always, I think, deal in public spaces, and they are so important to us. We just found it out this year with the pandemic that outdoor spaces are parts where we can join, where we live together, where we might use less digital tools, where we still are in contact and communication to each other. it's for me, it's something that allows democracy to be alive and to develop. And when we have public spaces and can use them together and don't meet only at commercial spaces or whatever. So I wanted to talk about introversion and extroversion, because buildings like the Elbphilharmonie, they also have a function as a kind of landmark and something to recognize a city. So it was important that, and especially at this site where you see it from lots of directions and from far away, that it gives this sign to the outside. Yeah, there is a concert tonight. You see the light of the foyer that shines out to the surrounding of the city. And also this has to be beautiful. And there is another point which I was taught by nature, because there were lots of people who said, oh, Ulrike, please, let's do this light in changeable colors. We have these wonderful RGB white LEDs. Why don't we use it? And I said, no. Nature also shows me that it's very subtle and uses quite, you could say, simple tools, but they are in a very sensitive way. They work together and they give much more depth, kind of deep emotions than, as I think, this color changing and very kind of circusy, nervous atmosphere. So they insisted to install a color changing RGB light here in the foyer, but fortunately they only used it for the first tests, and then the clients and the Elbphilharmonie, they understood that it's much more beautiful only to live here with the warmish white light from inside. So I think that is something we really, really learned by nature and are important. We don't need the wow effects. They are quite boring after a little time. That is the extraversion. And then I would like to come back to the introversion. This is a castle close to, in South Tyrol in North Italy, close to the city of Bolsena. And again, it's like a public space, but only in a castle. It could be a marketplace, a very miniature marketplace in a small Italian city. And here it's because this castle was built by two brothers and they had this kind of courtyard to meet here. They both had two sides of it, and here they meet. And I think this is understandable again by the perimeter. You see the light in the arcades. You don't have only a strong light in the middle of it where people sit and move and meet. You have kind of background lighting, and this, to me, it communicates this atmosphere of shelter. I know how big my space is. It's not squeezing me, even if it's a small space, because of the light that lets me breathe. But it gives me a shelter that is also a very important human need. So this is, I would like to say, with light, we can create these two emotions of extroversion and then of coziness to meet each other and to enjoy our environment and our cities. Thank you. So now I need to hear the others.
Yes. As soon as Ilgvars is back in the room, I will pass over to him. But right now, it looks like we have lost him. So I would take over for a second. Oh, here we go. All right, Ilgvars.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, Nicholas. Now it's time to ask questions. And thank you, Ulrike. That was a great presentation. I will start with a very practical question, and then we can move on to Heike's questions. You have probably been working with a number of municipal authorities in your career, haven't you? And has it always been fun to work with them, or tell us about your own experiences in cooperation with local authorities? Because normally that's a top-down approach, and but we can hope that the level of appreciation can be higher in some cases. So do you actually co-produce those solutions, or it's just a formal approach? Thank you.
Yeah, your question makes me laugh, because during all these times, in the beginning of my career, there were not so many urban projects, and that developed since the year 2000. One of our first biggest projects was the master plan for the Expo 2000 in Hanover. And that was lucky, because it had to be built and realized to a certain date. In cities, you normally have the situation that to realize something, for example, the master plan of Rotterdam will be realized until the year of 2030. And there you come to one of the first problems, I would say. Well, you have to have a certain budget for each year where things are realized then, and sometimes the political situation in the city changes. So that could mean that you did a very beautiful master plan but after some years it's not realized in that way. So sure, we have to think in long terms, and I think the most important to make master planning successful is really to not only produce a document. I think you also have to install a group of people who accompany realizations during a long time, and who invite always experts from outside, so to keep it in a dialogue. As for example, we now have the dialogue, we all together in LUCIA, about projects and the development of urban lighting.
Okay, thanks a lot. And I understand that Heike had something to ask as well. So Nicholas, can you give her permission to ask questions? I especially love the question that she raised about how people perceive urban lighting. Is it decorative or functional? That's a very good point, and I love it very much. So, Nicholas.
Heike, if you want to ask a question personally, you could do this. I can also read it because I copied the questions from the chat room. So maybe I will do that, because I don't see a demand for video and microphone. One of Heike's question was if the term feeling comfortable changed over the past decades, or did it just stay the same term, feeling comfortable, Heike? Ulrike, sorry.
I don't know if it really changed, because my idea is that we developed this feeling comfortable since the beginning of manhood, in a long evolution which always relates and reacts on natural phenomena of light. But sure, the public discussion about feeling comfortable might have changed in the last time. You know, in the beginning, I quite often really had the expectation to that I do create something wowish with a lot of colors and changing lights. And my clients then needed some time to understand that this is not feeling comfortable. I think just now there is an understanding how close we should keep on being to nature to feel comfortable. And another point as well, to take our time. I think to observe light is like to observe flowers like these I put here from the garden of my mother because it's autumn here, it's a bit grayish outside, and I thought I'd bring some sunshine in here. I think to observe is something that takes time, and on the other side gives you something back. And there, also, if I understand Heike correctly, we also ask, how can we use it in very small amounts that we don't have to spend an enormous amount of money? And I think that's true. With little budgets, with little tools, sometimes we can do much more than with big budgets.
That also answered the second question of Heike, I think. But there's also a question posted by Carlos, who is asking about sky pollution or light pollution in a way of what grade of pollution, of light pollution, is acceptable, and how should we think about pollution at the master plan or city level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should think on this from the first moment on, because we really, I mean, we make light to see more, but the opposite effect is happening. We see less. We don't see the stars anymore, which in a way is also something you could say that makes you feel calm and is something comfortable for our lives, to have this view to the universe. There are some very simple rules. For example, something about the angle of light. Normally, we have the rules that 180% of angle of light for urban lights is okay. I don't agree with that. I think the angle should be much, much smaller, because in the moment when I'm blinded by the light, I need again more light. And we should create comfortable situations without any blinding, or the less possible. And then we also need less light. In Hamburg, for example, since the oil crisis in the 80s, they put out in these luminaires, which always had 2 fluorescent tubes, they put out one of them. So since then, we have only half of the standards that are recommended for public lighting. We have only half of the light. And it didn't happen not more accidents than before, nothing, because everybody is used to this level of light. So why don't we act in these very simple ways? I hope I answered a little bit of it, Carlos.
Okay, then I think there's no more questions to Ulrike, so we could probably move on. And there's another presentation, and in the second part of our session, we'll be able to listen to a presentation on LUCIA pilot project in Latvia, which will be delivered by our colleague from Jūrmala, Ieva Šponberga. Most of you know her, and rightly so, because she's the manager of the pilot project in Latvia. And to me, Ieva is actually the core of our team, because she does the most important thing. She is the one who makes LUCIA experiences real and helps to transition from theory to practice. So we have very good relationship with the municipality of Jūrmala. We have had joint seminars already and expect to organize more as soon as the implementation of the pilot project in Jūrmala nears the completion stage. Until then, let's enjoy Ieva's presentation. The title is Lighting to Foster Sustainable Tourism, the case of Jūrmala. And before Ieva starts, I want to remind you once again, there's a small questions and answers session after her presentation. So please continue to write your questions in the chat room, and Nicholas will make them audible. So thank you, Ieva. Go on.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Ilgvars, for this nice introduction. Really good words, nice to hear them. So, greetings from Jūrmala, and I'm representing the Jūrmala City Council Development Department. I will give you insight into development of smart and energy-efficient lighting pilot project here in Jūrmala, the lighting replacement on Jūrmala Street. The question from most of you would probably be, why did we choose Jūrmala Street as the pilot area? And the answer is Jūrmala Street is the main pedestrian street in Jūrmala, the most lively street, which over time has become a favorite place for walks and meals after a pleasant getaway on the sunny beach. More than 20 cafes and even more shops, souvenir places are located on Jūrmala Street. And Jūrmala Street is a favorite place for local inhabitants and also tourists. There are more than 3,000 tourists that are spending more than one day here in Jūrmala. And most of them, of course, visit one of the most popular attractions, the Jūrmala Street. At the moment, there are 109 lampposts with 3 sodium light bulbs, 70 watts, with quite ineffective and old lighting. The current lighting was installed in 2000s with no lighting control system. So there is no option to reduce the electricity and save the energy. Each year there is a Jūrmala Street Festival organized in honor of this pedestrian street with events and activities organized, and the new lighting would improve the quality of the events organized in Jūrmala Street and in the city center. And also replacement of Jūrmala Street lighting was planned as one of the activities in Jūrmala development program for this planning period 2014-2020. The municipality has delegated the function of lighting maintenance and development of to municipal company called Jūrmalas Gaisma or Jūrmala Lighting, and they're maintaining more than 10,000 lighting poles, and of them 60% are wooden, reinforced concrete and metal lighting poles that at the moment are in poor technical condition. And total energy used for street lighting every year is around 4 million kilowatt hours. There are 2 types of luminaires in the city. 15% from them are LED lighting, as you can see, which is quite a low number. And most of them are sodium lighting, and then there's mercury and spotlights and also other lighting types. I would like to give short information about the planning of street lighting on Jūrmala Street. How did we plan it and how did we come to the point where we are now? We carried out a survey of local inhabitants and also entrepreneurs that are representing the opinion of the city guests as well, to find out what do they think about Jūrmala Street lighting and the expectations when replacing the lighting. The most common answer in the survey was that lighting needs to be improved and renovated, although 30% said that lighting is sufficient and there is no need to change it. Respondents suggested that the street needs brighter lighting and design needs to be improved or changed. And there were also suggestions to preserve the retro design when changing the street lighting. And also that the energy efficiency of the lighting should be improved. The entrepreneurs suggested that in the winter season, the lighting needs to be supplemented with whole day lighting, and entrepreneurs must also be able to connect to the lighting pole and use electricity for their business purposes, for selling ice cream, snacks, and beverages on Jūrmala Street. There is a city celebration working group developed in Jūrmala City Council that are working on issues regarding design and during celebration season and beyond the celebration season, and they were involved in the decision making of the design of the lighting on Jūrmala Street. This working group consists of city planners, city designer, head of building authority, head of marketing department, head of tourism information, head of municipal company Jūrmala's Gaisma or Jūrmala Lighting, deputy head of the mayor, head of culture department. And lighting design was evaluated by the representatives of working group from more than 10 designs offered by the architects in the project. Investments into lighting infrastructure are planned according to planning documents as well as in line with other infrastructure works, for example, renovation of parks, replacing of water management and heat management systems. When planning a new attraction or lighting replacement, we are adjusting the design and needs for each separate part of the city. And therefore, there are several planning documents. One of them is the midterm strategy for 2017-2020 of the municipal company Jūrmala's Gaisma, which contains the plans for replacement and installment of street lighting. Other important document is the local plan for the center territory of Jūrmala that includes public outdoor space element design concept. We have also the Sustainable Energy Action Program for years 2013-2020 that includes a section of street lighting modernization. And of course, regarding street lighting, city has to follow the regulations of Minister Cabinet for the green public procurement that has recently been updated to make the lighting even more energy efficient. So during the project, we are developing suggestions and action plan for integrating intelligent lighting into urban lighting, and that will be one of the project results. To ensure energy efficiency and sustainability of lighting, the local inhabitants and entrepreneurs were asked about suggestions for intelligent lighting functions, and the most common answers were that the brightness of the lighting should change according to the pedestrian flow, and that the public security should be improved. When planning the procurement of the technical project of Jūrmala Street lighting replacement, these suggestions were taken into account. So there will be sensors for the pedestrian flow on the lighting and the possibility to install cameras in future for safety reasons. The design of the lighting on Jūrmala Street has always been round-shaped and kind of retro lighting. This first picture is from the 90s and the beginning of 90s. And the second picture is the current lighting. And the last is the question mark, because there were long discussions what the lighting should look after the LUCIA project implementation. One of the suggestions from the architect company was to use Philips Copenhagen lighting with white color and with wooden poles. The decision was not to use these wooden poles because of the special maintenance that it requires, and there could be much more damages than on regular metal poles. The design of the Jūrmala street lighting is considered an important aspect when attracting tourists to the city, and it also builds up the image of the city. These are the visualizations how the lighting would look on different poles during the day and during night. More pictures of the suggested lighting from the designers and their visualizations on Jūrmala Street can be found in the exhibition area. These are also the visualizations how the lighting would look with only one luminaire on the lighting pole, as in this part of the street the light would be efficient with even one luminaire. After testing and getting feedback from city planners and residents and other involved persons, the decision was to not use the Philips Copenhagen lighting, because the feedback actually was not so positive as we expected, and the most common opinion was that the lighting lacks its volume and its looks as it has at the moment and its historical value. Therefore, the architect suggested to use these sphere lightning bulbs, which are quite similar to the existing lighting, but this will be the LED lighting with the possibility to use the lighting control system City Light and dimming to change the brightness of the light. These are visualizations as the final product. Northcliffe sphere lighting would look very similar to the existing lighting, but it will bring about 30% energy savings for Jūrmala Street, as we expect. And the current situation is that the technical project has been submitted to the building authority for evaluation, and we are waiting for the decision to start work with the building procurement and probably start the building works this year. And finally, I would like to say that we are looking forward to install smart and energy efficient lighting on Jūrmala Street that would benefit not only the local inhabitants, many restaurants and cafes on the Jūrmala Street, but also the tourists that are visiting Jūrmala each year. Thank you for your attention, and hope to see you in Jūrmala.
Hi, thank you, Ieva. It was a good presentation indeed. May I ask you a question? That's a friendly one, still a bit provocative. I would like to know your personal opinion about whether you expect that the pilot project on Jūrmala Street would, say, trigger implementation of any other pilot projects in Jūrmala. Do you see any new projects emerging and following anytime soon? Thank you.
Thank you, Ilgvars, for your question. Of course, during the LUCIA pilot project implementation, we see that actually changing the lighting with more energy efficient lighting, it can bring a lot of energy savings to the city. So currently we are discussing replacing all city lighting using a funding program here in Latvia called Autumn program that gives support and financing to energy efficient projects. So the findings and also the surveys that are here made during the project will help us to emphasize and say what are the needs and why do we need replacement of the lighting, because 30% of lighting energy efficient that could be improved is a lot. Also, when speaking to the deputies, it's a good reason why to say that this is a possibility to use these funds for different maintenance or new installment options in the city. So there are plans after the project to continue the work and attract funding for the rest of the city.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, colleagues? No, it looks like Heike hasn't written anything this time.
I have one more question to you, Ieva. In terms of light pollution, what was a topic before, how did the existing lighting perform, and how is the planning performing?
Yes, the lighting pollution is a topic that we discussed. Of course, the first option that was suggested, the Philips Copenhagen lighting, of course, would bring less lighting pollution. But as this is a recreational area and it's a quite narrow street and there are a lot of buildings, we choose to stick with the design which is more for recreational areas, as we also need for tourists to see the beautiful buildings. And this lighting, although it is not so friendly when speaking about the lighting pollution, it would give the option to see the street as a whole. So yes, of course, this would be quite similar to the existing lighting, and some of the light pollution could still exist, but still it would be more efficient, and of course as a LED lighting it would bring more benefits to the city.
Thank you.
Thank you. From Heike, and she asks whether Ulrike's presentation inspired you, Ieva?
Definitely, I looked with a great interest, and also to see how you can bring out the indoor spaces, not also the outdoor lighting, which is another topic the city could think of more, not only about the street lighting, but also about the buildings, about the objects, and about different architectural places, how to bring them out more with the lighting. I think this is definitely what the city still needs to improve, not only street and decorative lighting, but also indoor lighting in public spaces.
Okay, and there's another question from Renate, and she writes, is there an exchange with similar touristic areas in Latvia, for example, along the coast side, for instance, in Liepāja? What can you say? Cooperate with other coastal towns in Latvia or not?
As Ilgvars mentioned before, we had a regional seminar where the Riga municipalities were asked to participate, which includes also coastal municipalities, and we shared our experience, not specifically with Liepāja, but when the pilot project will be ready, we will organize kind of experience exchange to show the developments and show our findings, and to inspire others to choose more energy efficient lighting also in their cities. But good suggestion, and we will definitely plan to do meetings and exchange with other municipalities, not only from the coastal areas, but also in the other parts of Latvia.
Okay, then. If there's no more questions, so I think we've got 14 minutes left and must start to wrap up this morning's sessions. And I will write down some kind of minutes of this meeting, but that would come later on. And but there's two things that come to me, and two lessons that actually I have learned this morning, and I've learned something from each of the presenters, and let's start with Ulrike. And to me, I really recognize how important it is to be a lighting designer. I must be honest, I didn't appreciate that before, and because that's some absolute. She just proved that urban lighting, urban design is a very, very important thing of the overall planning process. So the importance of being a lighting designer, that's one. And as for Ieva, I'm really proud that they have already thought about other projects that could be implemented in Jūrmala, which could mean that there's a long-term impact of LUCIA. There's a long-term impact of what we do here, all of you, and especially Ieva. So, so those are my two big lessons. Can anyone else comment on it? Good. So I say it once again, we'll write some kind of minutes, of course, but given that we're running short of time, I must also mention that you're more than welcome to visit our exhibition site or exhibition area, so that you can check what we have achieved this far, and do not log out of the system before you visit the expo area, because it contains some information on the pilot sites, all pilot sites, not only Jūrmala, and it also does contain some brand new LUCIA videos, and it's actually the LUCIA Knowledge Center. Am I right, Nicholas, that you can easily do it by just clicking on the icon on the left, and you will be there?
Exactly, that's the case. On the left side, you see this expo icon, and that will lead you directly to our room where you can check out our brand new LUCIA videos and much more information also on the pilot side in Jūrmala.
Excellent. And before we finish this session, just I would like to remind you again, be sure to join the other LUCIA webinars. And you still have time to register for those seminars, and yeah. So now it's time to network and attend the expo session. And I thank you all for your attention and for your patience. So it was my pleasure being with you, and I'm certain I will be with you during the other seminars and other webinars as well. And thank you, Nicholas. As always, you're doing a great job. Thank you, friends, and goodbye.